Welcome back to another episode of Fashion Palace Hotel. In today's episode, we go on a small adventure with the lovely, the insane, and crazy Princess Freaka. Freaka has been sent on an errand. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, and meat is acquired. The tenants will want to have a barbecue, and what better way to celebrate the 4th of July and to get a few extra bucks is by charging tenants for special menus for the barbecue. So, Freaka was sent on this mission to go grocery shopping. On our way, something happened. Now, for those of you who do not know, there are places where you can ride your bike and rent scooters on the streets. There was a particular person who decided to not only ride up on the sidewalk, but try to run Freaka down. Bad move when you're dealing with a psychomaniac.
Hey, Ugly, you belong in a freak show. Why don't you go back to the science lab and get experimented on?
Now, the one thing you're not supposed to do is call Freaka a freak. It activates a trigger in her brain. All of a sudden, Freaka's demeanor changed. Her eyes began to flare up. All she could do was see red. She began to salivate and began to make a hissing noise. She was about to kill. She ran up to the guy so fast before he could start his scooter again. Next thing you know, he was on the ground, screaming in agony as she dug into his face, tearing and ripping at flesh. He was screaming, trying to fight, but something inside of her made her 10 times stronger. The adrenaline was powerful. Next thing you know, this man was dead the moment she bit into his throat. She held up a chunk of skin, meat, and possibly a bit of neck bone as this man gushed his last breath from the hole in his throat. She looked around. Fortunately, it was early in the morning and no one was out yet, so she carefully dragged the body behind the bus stop, but that had a shrubbery just behind it to hide the evidence, but she wasn't done. Some of the meat that she bought was ruined. She had to replace it, and this fool was the perfect chance. First, she had a little bit of breakfast and finished eating away at his face. After licking the skull of the face clean, she yanked out the eyeballs, chewed each one slowly as if it was a delicious candy ball. Then she cut open the body from its neck down to its stomach and began digging inside, ripping the guts, ripping the lungs, the heart, every intestine that she could get her hands on until the cavity was completely empty. Carefully, she stuffed it into her bag, lovingly wrapping it in paper so it would not stain her grocery bags.
Well, that's what you get for messing with Freaka. Now if you will excuse me, I gotta catch a bus home. Why don't you go rot in the sun? I see some ravens coming. I think you would make a great leftover snack.
The bus arrived shortly after, and Freaka stepped inside. There was a pause as several of the passengers glanced up. Some were disgusted, some were shocked. Some didn't know how to react at the ghastly sight of Freaka. Crazy red curly hair, fixed in a strange oblong two pigtail buns with little spiral curl dangly bits, straight bangs, freakish white corpse makeup with black eyeliner in intricate designs, real stitches, scars all over her face, and of course a very creepy, almost ragdoll-like stitchy smile, colored with red lipstick, or at least what looked like red lipstick. Her attire was bandages, just an outfit, almost mermaid-like dress of bandages, tightly wrapped around her very unique curvy body. She was bottom-heavy, so she had quite large hips and a booty. Her chest was also quite huge, while she had a slightly tinier waist, and everything else was scrawny. She looked like she just came out of an asylum, with only a crooked paper gold painted crown on her head. Everyone looked away. Some were terrified at the thought that she would sit next to them. She finally found a seat all alone, but that was not the end of her annoyance. She was angry at what happened earlier, but felt slightly justified, and now she was annoyed with all the passengers who looked at her with either appallish reactions or pure disgust. She didn't like it. She didn't like it at all. It was also quite a humid morning already. The summer days were quite hot where she lived. And it got worse when Granny Karen came on the bus. And this, my dear friends, is where our story truly begins. Granny Karen is a well-known bus passenger. People don't like her. People cringe because if she doesn't get her way, she will bawl, squall, and complain until she breaks the driver into giving her what she wants. She was a heavy-set older lady, possibly 65, short, salt and peppery hair, glasses, wrinkly neck, turkey waddle, and just pure nonsense. She wore a blue shirt and regular gray slacky pants and matching gray flats with a little gold chain with a tiny little cross. A very religious woman she was, but also a racist, a person who liked to scrutinize alternative people, someone you would truly hate, someone with backwards thinking, someone who was a Cheeto supporter. It wasn't long until the complaining started, and trust me, when you hear her voice and her complaining, you will not like her either.
Please, driver, please turn up the heat. It's so cold. Please, driver, it's so cold.
Lady, it's almost 110 degrees out. I am not turning up the heat. It is hot. It is summer.
Oh, but I'm so cold. Please turn up the heat. Turn it up. Ow! Ow!
She continued to complain, and much to the passengers' displeasure, the bus driver finally caved and turned up the heat. It was getting hot, very hot. People were moaning, people were groaning, but Granny Karen couldn't stop complaining about it being so cold. Windows were being shut, but Freaka, she refused to close her window. And because of that defiance, Granny Karen continued to complain. "Oh, the window! Driver, please have that lady close her window. It is cold."
Lady, I'm not gonna close my window for an old, scratchy bitch who cannot stay cold or warm because it's hot, humid weather, and I'm not going to oblige one old, haggy bitch.
Freaka's response, unhinged, made no sense, but some got her point, including Granny Karen, who had an immediate Karen grandma freak out at such defiance. "Oh, my heart! My blood pressure is raising! Driver, make that woman get off the bus! She's affecting my PTSD! She's affecting my blood pressure! Freaka couldn't stand it anymore. The woman continued to complain. The driver looked like he was going to cave. She finally got up, but instead of closing her window, she reached into her special bag that she had on her and pulled out a mini pink chainsaw.
All right, you bitch. If you're not gonna shut up, I'm gonna make you.
Freaka carefully began pulling the lever on the mini chainsaw. All the passengers looked horrified. The driver also looked panicked. Granny Karen looked in horror as Freaka came at her with the chainsaw, and right before the shredding, she started screaming. People were screaming. Everyone was in a panic. Freaka had completely chopped Granny Karen into mini pieces with her mini chainsaw, and she wasn't done. She looked toward the terrified passengers. Unfortunately, the driver jammed his switch, and the front door was locked on the bus. Everyone screamed bloody murder as she went on a killing frenzy, chopping and sawing everyone up with her chainsaw. She was in her moment of passion, her happy time, literally massacring everyone in sight. By the time she was done, she had enough extra meat for a good supply for the 4th of July. Stuffing everything she could, she got off the bus and basically hightailed it to the next bus stop. When she returned with her bounty, she grinded up what she could of what she could grab of Granny Karen and then stuffed it in the freezer.
Freeze, bitch! Freeze! Suffer! You'll get your heat tomorrow, and everyone is going to enjoy your fatty, meaty tearing ass!
She slammed the freezer shut and then cleaned up the kitchen as best as she could. And then, after she was done, there was just a little bit of meat, excess meat. So she fried herself a lovely stir fry, added some greens, and called it a day. On the 4th of July, every tenant at the hotel enjoyed the tasty, tender meat. Fresh, they thought it was, grilled to the frills of delight. Everyone enjoyed it, including our main cast of characters. Mr. Fancyman, unaware of what he was eating, if he had known, he would probably be appalled. Baron Von Snobs would not care. It was a delicious poultry find from his sweetie, Freaka. He would have loved her even though she had turned him into a cannibal. While everyone was unaware of the cannibalism title, Freaka just watched, amused and happy that she was able to provide everyone a good 4th of July barbecue, despite that they all were unconsciously aware that they just committed cannibalism. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Fashion Palace Hotel. Stay tuned for more.